Hi, I'm Ali and welcome to my channel, the China Repair Studio. Now I thought today we'd go through some equipment and some tools, safety, and maybe touch on a bit of safety as well. So without further ado, we'll get cracking. So first thing you need when you're going to repair some china is obviously have a piece of china or pottery to repair. And so what I have here is my next project, which is a small little china tea bowl. So we have that. You also will need some vanish or maybe some Biotex or even just washing powder or even washing up liquid at a push, just for when you wash your piece when you first get rid of all the grime and all the bits and pieces and the glue. Toothbrush is really useful for that because that gets right into those little crevices. So I'll put those away. You'll also need maybe some paint stripper and maybe acetone as well, because some glues are really stubborn and really hard to get off, so they are very useful. Very toxic and very smelly, so if you are using those products, I highly recommend that you use a mask, which I think we've all got at the moment, so a mask with those. Also gloves. That's useful for when you're washing because the water has to be very hot, and also when you're using these products. Right, next I would use, you've got some Miniput. So here we are, I've got them in, I've got 3 different colours here. The colour I would probably recommend would be just the plain white. It comes in 2 parts, which you mix together, and yeah, really good. That helps. That's to fill in all the cracks and make extra parts and missing pieces. It dries fairly quickly, so you have to be pretty fast, not too fast, but yeah, within a day it's dried and it's hard. So yeah, recommend that. We also have here a sharp crafting knife, which I use to take off really hard glues and maybe parts of Milliput if I've overdone. Very useful. And also a little palette. So that is very useful tool actually, which you really do need, because that's, you put the Milliput on with that. Very useful little tool there. Bottles. I collect lots of bottles and milk bottles, and these little bottle tops are so useful because what you can do is you can put mix paint into them, and you can mix your glues. Very useful. So if you can collect some, really be great. Use some sellotape when you're sticking bits and pieces together. And here we have yes, some ceramic glaze. This is for the end after you've painted. I use rustins. It's waterborne as well, so it's not full of any nasties, which, you know, otherwise it just gets so smelly. It's not good for you and it's not good for the environment, but this is the best it's going to get. What I do is I actually put some into a small jar, because it does dry fairly quickly and a little bit goes a long way. So put some of that into a jar, that will last for a while, and then now and again just top up. Let's put that there. Right, now we'll go on to paints. Now the paints I tend to use, powder pigments, lots of different powder pigments. They're quite expensive, but they last for years and years and years and years. So a little bit again goes a long way. So I've got a variety of powder pigments, but also acrylics. I find, you can see, well used. With the acrylics, they're very useful for using when you're going through an airbrush. You don't seem to get little nodules in it, little bits and pieces. It seems to be a lot finer. You don't have to do so much mixing. Whereas these, when you're mixing, you've got to make sure everything is mixed thoroughly. Otherwise, you end up with bits, which is not very good. Paint brushes. I have a variety of paintbrushes here. This is just some of the collection. I tend to use the flat brushes when I'm glazing, because you can be very quick, because the glaze dries very, very quickly. So flat brushes, otherwise you end up with paint marks and lots of various sizes here. I would recommend sable brushes if you can, because you get what you pay for in brushes, and also you don't end up with little hairs sticking and coming off in amongst your glaze or your paint. Got cotton buds, always useful, and some little cocktail sticks, which are all very good. I recommend getting some of these. They're good for mixing the paint in, mixing the glue, which is very great. Now, glue wise, I've got some here. I use Araldite. I use the slow one. Here you put 50 and 50 and mix it together, and it takes, I don't know, 24 hours to cure properly, but it gives you time to adjust your pieces of china or pottery. So I recommend, you definitely need some Araldite glue. I wouldn't use super glue, it dries too quickly, and it also goes very yellow. But with the Araldite glue, I would actually I put in here, I always mix it with some titanium dioxide powder, and that stops it from going yellow. So again, a lot in there. That would last for years and years and years and years. Just need a little bit. A plate. I mean, I've got a white plate, but you could use a white tile. I use white because when you're painting you can see the colours properly. And a piece of kitchen roll, always useful. And also here, lots of grades of sandpaper. From 180 to, I think this is 1,200, yes. And this is called micro mesh, which you would use at the very end, and that would just makes it feel like glass, ready to before you apply the paint. It's not a necessity, but if you could have a light, that would be great, with a magnifying glass, or even just a magnifying glass. This is quite good when you're working with the light starting to fade slightly, and you really can see the detail. But it's not a must, but it is quite useful. So there we go, that's the equipment. You don't need all of it, just the basics to begin with, just 1 or 2 pieces, which would be glue and Milliput, just to start off with, and a cocktail stick. And hopefully that will sort of get you up and ready. So hopefully you enjoyed this tutorial. Please subscribe, and please hit the notification bell, so every time I actually put on a video you'll be notified. And I look forward to seeing you in the next tutorial. Okay, bye.